I've always had a crush on someone memorable from my high school years. I made a decision while holding the class reunion invitation that was in the mail. If she shows up, I want to share with her the emotions I had in high school. I made the decision to go to the reunion with that promise in mind. I had no idea at the time that this choice would alter my destiny. My name is James, and I'm simply a regular office worker without a significant other. I felt left behind as my friends began getting married one by one. But I didn't have the luxury of finding a partner because of my hectic job schedule. Then I came home one day and looked in the mailbox. Class reunion invitation was written on an envelope. I opened it and saw a high school reunion invitation. There was a QR code on the invitation that took me to a portal where I could check if I was going. Even though the reunion was set for a Saturday, I was unable to go because it coincided with a hectic time at work. Despite my desire to visit my high school friends, I felt compelled to miss it. I was about to lose up and hit "will not attend" to email it when I suddenly realized what I had to do. My mind immediately came up with the name Madison, which I had hardly considered before today. During my 3 years of high school, Madison was the girl I had been deeply in love with. I tried to remember Madison then, when she was tiny and beautiful. If Madison will be present. I was only interested in what had happened to Madison, whom I hadn't seen since high school. Even though it wasn't like, I still harbored affections for her. I pressed the "will attend" button and sent it, motivated by the possibility that Madison would be present. The reunion day finally came. Conversations were flourishing as old acquaintances were happily catching up at the venue. I grabbed a glass of iced tea and searched for Madison. She's there. Ah. Madison was surrounded by a number of women who were complimenting him on his appearance, saying things like, "You were cute in high school, but now you're even more stunning, and you've become even more beautiful." Madison was indeed more attractive now than she had been in high school. She had become much more beautiful. Madison appeared to notice that I was staring at her and turned to smile. Is she observing me? Perhaps I looked a little too long and looked away too soon. He said, "James, right?" "Yes, a long time has passed. Is everything all right?" "Huh. You were staring directly at me. You can have something you wanted to say," I thought. "Oh no, it's nothing like that." Madison was frightfully attractive in the light purple party dress. After only a brief exchange of words with her, my emotions from that time swiftly returned. I suppose I haven't completely forgotten about Madison. "You're pretty busy these days, isn't that what I heard earlier?" "Yeah, well, a little." Who told her, I wonder? Nevertheless, you found time to attend the reunion. Did you have a specific person in mind to see? What? Because, if we wanted to contact our high school classmates, we could do so anytime, right? Caught off guard and at a loss for words, I was left speechless. Watching me fumble for words, Madison chuckled. Feeling suddenly embarrassed, I laughed awkwardly while scratching my head, trying to play it off. As Madison and I engaged in casual conversation, we discovered we shared common interests, like enjoying walks and frequently going to the movies on weekends. It brought us closer. "Hey, Madison, do you have time after this? What if it's okay with you? Instead of going to the after party, would you like to grab a drink with me?" As our conversation flowed, I realized that I still had feelings for Madison, reigniting my old, unrequited love. Madison was momentarily surprised by my invitation, but quickly smiled and accepted it with, "I'd be delighted." As the reunion came to an end, we started looking for a place to go, considering we shouldn't stray too far from the station while mulling over various options. "Hey, how about this place?" "Oh yeah, that looks good. Let's go there." "Sure." The place Madison suggested was a small bar located in a corner of an old shopping district. Once inside, we found it to be quite cozy. It was quiet and had a great atmosphere. The bar was run by a middle-aged couple who were both kind and attentive, leaving nothing to be desired. Madison and I sat side by side at the counter, looking through the menu. We found a wide variety of dishes. Wow, this is amazing. Really, it's hard to choose. Madison also flipped through the menu, seemingly undecided. If you're having trouble deciding, the daily special is a good choice. What's the daily special today? It's buffalo wings. The lady of the house recommended the daily special, and both Madison and I decided to go for it. Satisfied with the delicious meal, Madison and I spent a pleasant and calm time together. Perhaps due to its inconspicuous location, the bar was quiet, with only a few other customers besides Madison and me. What made you two decide to open this place? While observing the well-coordinated couple, Madison asked them. The wife was momentarily surprised but quickly smiled. We always talked about opening a place where we and everyone else could smile and spend a relaxed time ever since we met. Wow, that's wonderful. The wife laughed at Madison's reaction, while the husband shyly averted his gaze. After that, Madison and I spent our time at the bar, occasionally chatting with the couple. Couples like them are wonderful, aren't they? During a pause in our conversation with the couple, as the husband went back to cooking and the wife attended to other customers, Madison whispered, "Huh, don't you admire it? A peaceful couple like that. It's nice, isn't it? To run a small but cozy place like this." I was momentarily taken aback by Madison's unexpected remark. However, Madison's words led me to a certain resolution. I took a deep breath and turned my body to face Madison, who was sitting next to me. "Hey, Madison," I said. "Yeah? Do you have a partner now?" "No, I don't." Madison's cheeks were faintly red as she said this. Was it because of the alcohol, or perhaps? I see. Like you, I'm too busy with work to have time for a partner. Work is my lover, you could say. Madison laughed amusingly and took a bite of her chicken. "So, Madison, you're busy with work too? What do you do?" "I'm a public servant," Madison answered shortly, without turning her gaze towards me. A public servant. Huh. I imagined Madison working at an office, reaching out to help those in need. That suits her. Madison had always been kind and gentle since our school days, so it seemed like the perfect job for her. What about you, James? What do you do? I'm just a regular office worker. Nothing special. I see. Madison seemed to be enjoying the conversation. It was getting late into our meal. Sorry, I'm going to use the restroom. All right. Okay. After watching Madison head to the restroom, I called over to the bartender. Excuse me. Yes. Could I get the bill for the two of us, please? Sure. No problem. The bartender's wife promptly moved to the cash register after overhearing our conversation. As I took my wallet and headed towards the register near the entrance, the door to the bar opened with a loud noise. Huh, there's hardly anyone here, I muttered. A group of 6 rowdy-looking individuals entered the bar as if they owned the place. All right, this spot good, one of them asked. Yeah, it's empty. Anywhere's fine. Really? What do they have here? No idea. The ruffians spread out the menus on the table and started discussing loudly what to order. Hey, that looks good. What's this? One of them asked. The group began to make a lot of noise, talking loudly. And then, unbelievably, they started bothering the other customers who were just trying to enjoy their meals. Their intimidating appearance seemed to terrify the other customers, who were met with smirks from the ruffians. Don't be so scared. We're not going to do anything to you. We just wanted to make friends by talking to you, that's all. Hey, hurry up and take our order. The once quiet bar became noisy. The bartender stopped cooking, unsure of how to handle the sudden situation, while his wife looked on the verge of tears as she watched the ruffians. I couldn't stand the thought of these people ruining the peaceful atmosphere of a bar started by a couple who wanted to make their customers smile. Feeling I couldn't just stand by and watch, I decided to confront the ruffians. Hey, you guys, What? What do you want? Don't you care that you're bothering everyone around you? What? You playing hero, cool man. Huh. Mind your own business. We're paying our way, so it's all good. This place is for quietly enjoying drinks and food. If you can't respect that, you telling us to get out. What gives you the right to act all high and mighty? Then you're the one who should leave. How about we just rent out this place for ourselves? Then we won't be bothering anyone, right? The ruffians seemed unfazed by my attempt to intervene. Instead, they suddenly decided to rent out the place and forcefully kick me out. Pushed by several of them, I was thrown out with nothing on me. All my belongings, including my phone, were left at the counter. Realizing I had left my phone behind, I reached for my pocket to call the police. Excuse me, do any of you have a phone on you? I asked the other customers, who, like me, had been kicked out of the store. But it turned out that everyone had left their belongings inside, and not a single person had a means to contact the police. Madison. I remembered that Madison had left for the restroom just before the ruffians showed up, which meant she was unaware of their presence inside. I tried to open the door, but it was locked from the inside. I moved to a window through which I could peek inside without being noticed by the ruffians. Just then, Madison came out of the restroom, unaware of the situation. She inevitably ran into the ruffians. Upon spotting Madison, the ruffians quickly surrounded her. Hey, look, a lady all by herself. Got ditched by her boyfriend, huh? Why don't you have a drink with us and cheer up? One of the ruffians put his arm around Madison's waist and pulled her close. Madison, unable to bear the thought of Madison being touched by their filthy hands. I tried to open the door in a rage, but it wouldn't budge. Even trying to force it open, I couldn't manage it alone. From my perspective, Madison seemed frightened by the ruffians, but in reality, she was completely calm. At that moment, the reason for her calmness would soon become clear. Instead of Madison screaming, what reached my ears as I struggled with the door was the sound of men's groans and a loud commotion. What? Is Madison being attacked? With the help of other customers, we managed to pry the door open, but what I saw was an unbelievable sight. The delicate Madison was gracefully taking down one ruffian after another, as if in a scene from a comic book. Despite their larger size, Madison was completely unharmed. In fact, seeing the situation, I almost felt sorry for the ruffians. You bastards. We were being nice, and you got all cocky. Madison continued to throw the ruffians to the ground, one after another. Her movements were so swift that I couldn't even join in to help. I just watched the ruffians fall one by one. Actually, even if I had tried to help Madison, I would have just gotten in the way. Once the ruffians were all lying on the floor, unable to fight back, Madison let out a small sigh. Then she casually took out her phone from her pocket and started making a call. Hello, this is Madison. Yes, Madison. I'm currently at an AB district listening in. It seemed like she wasn't making a personal call, but rather one related to her work. Aha, James. After ending the call, Madison immediately noticed me and hurried over, wearing a slightly awkward smile. Madison, are you hurt at all? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. That's good to hear. Relieved to know you weren't harmed, I said, finally able to breathe easy. A few minutes later, several police cars pulled up in front of the store. They arrived quickly. Madison and I walked out of the bar together towards the cars. There, a police officer greeted her with a salute. Good work, Madison. Great job. I could hear such exchanges reaching my ears. Everyone's inside. Can you take the statements later? Of course, Madison replied, seemingly acquainted with the officers. There were so many things I wanted to ask Madison, like whether she was injured, what had happened, and how she knew the police officer. But I couldn't find the words for any of it. After some hesitation, I decided to ask Madison the one thing that was on my mind. Madison, are you by any chance? Yes. Related to the police? James, you're sharp. Yes, I'm an active duty police officer. Madison pulled out her police badge from her bag. Indeed, the photo and name on it were unmistakably Madison's. It seems that after graduating from high school, Madison entered the police academy. It felt like a career Madison, with her strong sense of justice, would choose. It made more sense than her being a public service worker, right? A public servant, huh? Well, yes, that's true. Police officers are public servants. So Madison wasn't wrong, but I felt a bit frustrated that I hadn't figured it out myself. The way I took down those ruffians. It's something I learned during my time at the police academy. See, I can handle being targeted now. Is that so? Sorry for keeping it a secret. I felt like the image you had of me was still from high school, so I just went with it. But where does someone as delicate as you get that kind of strength from? Haha, it's martial arts. Once you learn it, anyone can do it. Are you disappointed? What? No way. Really, that's good. Madison smiled at me, looking relieved. Actually, it's way too cool. And a gap with your usual self, you made me fall for you even more. I like you. Madison, I'm so happy that you first worried about whether I was hurt. Your kindness hasn't changed since high school, and that made me so happy. You're always you. James, does that mean? Yes, I like you too. And so, the feelings I harbored since high school finally found their resolution. Why in the world are you coming to our wedding, someone who has no talents and no education? I feel like I'm losing brain cells just by inhaling the same air as you. My manager, Michael, invited me to his wedding, which I did with my just-married wife, Sarah. But his bride, who was seated next to Michael, began insulting me while holding a microphone. Sitting next to him, Michael went pale and made a valiant attempt to stop his bride, but to no effect. Even worse, his bride revealed all the abuse Michael had previously inflicted on me, asking, "How about you? You have also been disparaging him." Someone abruptly got up and gave Michael and his bride a savage gaze in this unmanageable scenario. "My name is James," he declared. "I have no academic credentials, to be honest. As soon as I finished middle school, I started working for a corporation. People frequently ask me why I didn't attend college or high school, and I can only respond that it was because of familial circumstances. My familial circumstances prevented me from attending high school or even college, even though I would have liked to if it had been possible. I politely refused to go to college even though my parents wanted me to. Charlie and Daniel, my two younger brothers, had just begun kindergarten and elementary school at the time. Although I was sure I could get by on my own, I made the decision to start working as soon as middle school ended in order to save money for my brother's college tuition since I didn't want them to experience such problems. I joined my card firm over 10 years ago after being introduced to it at school. As a recent middle school graduate, I was initially primarily given mundane jobs. However, as I gained more experience, I was given more responsibility. By my 5th year, I was working in nearly identical circumstances to those of recent college grads. I could manage practically every task in the organization with ease after 10 years of employment. Along with improving the quality of my work, I also became more self-assured. But I never contented myself with it, and I worked greedily and relentlessly every day. I never wanted to experience it again, and I didn't want to place myself in a situation where I was ridiculed for only finishing middle school. Eventually, people around me acknowledged my efforts, and I was able to establish positive relationships. "Hey James, you're doing great." "Thank you. This is all thanks to the seniors like you who patiently taught me the ropes when I was still new here." "Come on, saying that won't get you anything." Tom, a senior coworker, talked casually to me as I was at my desk. Grinning, he set one of the 2 coffee cups he was holding on my desk. "Wow, thank you." "It's not much," he said with another smile before going back to his work. Then, Emily, a junior colleague sitting next to me, called out to me. James, sorry, but my software stopped working. Emily came to me with a tearful face, showing me the screen. Indeed, the software had frozen, and the screen had gone white. Upon asking Emily for details, it seemed that this issue arose whenever attempting to open documents sent by a client. The software installed on our company computers is always up to date, so it's unusual for there to be issues with opening files. But after considering various factors, including the possibility that her computer might not have the necessary specifications, I couldn't manage to open the document on her device. In the end, I had to take over the task. James, sorry for causing you trouble. It's okay, we're here to help each other, I replied with a smile. Emily seemed relieved and smiled back, taking over Emily's task. I handed my work to her instead. We supported each other like this, keeping a positive atmosphere in the office. Looking back, I can only agree if someone were to say that I was the one who disrupted the atmosphere. James, can you work overtime today? It was 20 minutes before the end of the day. Michael, the manager, said he needed help with some urgent work. However, I had an important matter that required me to leave on time. I'm sorry, I can't make it today due to personal reasons. However, I'm available to help tomorrow. At my response, Michael furrowed his brow. It has to be today. Then perhaps you could ask another employee for help, as I really can't miss my appointment today. I apologized to Michael repeatedly. As soon as the end-of-day bell rang, I left the office. Missing today's appointment could seriously affect my life. I understand that taking on work is crucial for building trust within the company, but when it comes down to weighing it against my future, I prioritize my own life. However, I would come to know that my decision was a mistake. The next day arrived. Hey, good morning, poorly educated James. Excuse me? As I arrived at work as usual, I was greeted sarcastically by Michael, who had arrived earlier. I was surprised because nobody had used the term in reference to me since I first joined the company. Michael had been normal until yesterday. So, what happened? The meeting with the client this afternoon has been rescheduled to start at 5:00 p.m. Oh, really? Well, I see. I wondered if I had missed any communication from the client as I replied to Michael. Michael said it in his usual tone of voice, so I decided to think that I must have misheard his insult. However, the incident would occur at the time of the meeting. I was preparing to connect remotely with the client in conference room 1, but as time passed, the meeting didn't start. After a 30-minute wait, feeling something was amiss, I'd immediately contacted the client for confirmation. Is this James? I believe we had a meeting scheduled for today. Has something happened? That's what we'd like to ask you. Aren't you the ones who missed this afternoon's meeting? We'll have to reconsider this deal from scratch. Now wait. What? The tone of the client's representative was unexpectedly stern, and I was shocked. Moreover, they confirmed that the meeting was still scheduled for the afternoon without any changes. The one who informed me of the meeting time change was Michael. I immediately left the conference room and went to Michael. Michael. Even though I raised my voice, Michael continued to ignore me, as if he hadn't heard. Michael, did you lie to me about the change of the meeting time? When I banged on Michael's desk and confronted him, he responded with, Excuse me, what are you talking about? The argument went nowhere, and I gave up on blaming Michael. I should have confirmed with the client myself when I first heard of the meeting time change. Now, with the deal canceled, the responsibility weighs heavily on me. I need to gradually regain trust. But Michael's actions, which could be seen as harassment, were not limited to just that day. Man, you're still not done with this work. You're so slow. Don't get cocky just because you've been working in here a while. Despite being poorly educated, Michael constantly made derogatory comments towards me. He would assign his work to me and then berate me if it wasn't finished immediately. Maybe I had become complacent about my position due to the positive environment around me. Despite being poorly educated, I reminded myself that I could be fired at any moment and became even more dedicated to my work. Many would be inconvenienced if I didn't work hard. I later visited a client I had inadvertently stood up for the meeting, bringing a box of sweets to apologize. The person in charge then mentioned that they had been upset at the time but agreed to continue our business relationship. Relieved, I was able to focus even more on my work. James, you've been really putting your all into work lately. Yes, it hit me that I still have so much to learn. As I began to focus more on my work, those around me also started putting in more effort. It seems they felt encouraged seeing me work hard. Thanks to everyone's hard work, the company's overall performance began to improve. However, it seemed Michael was displeased with the situation, continuing with his self-centered work style as before. As a result, he ended up being the only one lagging behind in performance, which further soured his mood. Time passed, and I endured daily harassment from Michael while continuing to work. Finally, my efforts were rewarded. James, your promotion has been decided. At the morning meeting, Mr. Thompson, the company president, personally announced my promotion. The people in the office congratulated me with applause. However, Michael was the only one who seemed displeased, glaring at me as if to express his discontent. I had been eagerly awaiting this promotion. Well, it's been decided. Congratulations. Thank you. When I told Sarah, whom I live with, about my promotion, she was delighted as if it were her own achievement. I had shared everything with her, including my troubles with Michael and all the good and bad things at work. It's no exaggeration to say that I was able to keep going until today because of her. And I had made up my mind. Once my promotion was decided, I planned to convey something important to her. And so, I ended up getting married to the woman I had been dating for a long time. That day, we were out looking at wedding venues together. I'm excited about previewing the venue. What kind do you like? As long as you're happy with it, anywhere is fine by me. After all, the bride is the star of the wedding. James, you're really sweet. She was smiling the whole time. Today, not only were we viewing venues, but she was also scheduled to try on dresses, making it an entirely enjoyable experience for her. In the dressing room, filled with various gowns, she felt like a princess and was very excited. I decided to wait outside on a sofa, telling her to take her time without worrying about the clock. As I took a seat on the sofa with a small sigh, I heard a familiar voice calling out to me. Is that you, James? Oh, Michael. Judging by Michael's near attire, it seemed he was also here to scout a wedding venue. A woman, presumably Michael's girlfriend, stood beside him. When our eyes met, I gave a light greeting, but she quickly looked away. What are you doing here? I came with my girlfriend. She's in the fitting room right now. Even a loser like you can get married. Ha! Education has nothing to do with marriage. Michael would insult me regardless of the place. I didn't want to argue in public, so I didn't respond strongly. But Michael's girlfriend, having heard our exchange, suddenly burst into laughter. Well, so you're the infamous guy with P-education, the incompetent one I've heard so much about from him. Always dragging Michael down, aren't you? I hear it all the time. How you're making everyone's workload heavier because of your mistakes. Yeah, that's him taking advantage of his girlfriend joining in. Michael ramped up his insults. Moreover, what Michael was telling her was completely false, which made me even feel a bit sorry for her. Hearing nothing but complaints about me from Michael must be stressful for her. As I was thinking of this, Michael's girlfriend was called away by the staff for her dress fitting, and she left at the same moment Sarah returned. James, sorry to keep you waiting. Oh, someone you know? Yeah, from work. As I was about to introduce Sarah to Michael, he caught a glimpse of her, and his eyes widened in shock. Michael, is this your girlfriend? Upon seeing Sarah, Michael's complexion visibly worsened. This incident led to a sudden halt in his harassment towards me. Although my colleagues and I found it odd, we were just relieved that work could proceed smoothly without any disturbances. However, Michael's behavior became strange afterward. Not only did the harassment stop, but he also started going out of his way to bring me coffee and even offered help whenever I seemed stuck with my work. Despite my refusals, insisting that it wasn't appropriate for a manager to do a subordinate's work, Michael began taking tasks for me to do himself. With the extra time on my hands, I was able to deliver higher quality work than before. This also led to an overall increase in work efficiency within the company, which was a win-win situation for me. Soon after, Sarah and I held our wedding ceremony. We invited colleagues from the company, including Michael. At her parents' request, we planned a grand wedding ceremony with more guests than we could possibly greet. Both she and I experienced a wedding filled with immense joy. Half a year after our wedding, Michael was planning his own and sent out invitations to the company employees. I asked if my wife could also attend, and Michael, sweating profusely, eagerly agreed. I wonder why Michael starts to panic whenever I mention Sarah. While Sarah and I were chatting in the corridor before the reception started, the bride walked past us right by our side. To be more precise, she was going to walk past us. Upon seeing me, the bride stopped and turned to face us. "Are you the one from back then?" Despite being in her wedding dress, the bride approached us and scrutinized both me and my wife's faces. "Avo, you're already married, right? Too bad you can't turn back now. What do you know? Your husband is poorly educated and incompetent at work." "Well, that look on your face says you didn't know. Sorry for you. Could you please stop seeing my wife uncomfortable?" I intervened, but the bride just sneered and said, "Oh, sorry," before heading to the dressing room. "What was that all about?" Sarah asked. "Sorry for making you feel uncomfortable," I said. "No problem. But James, are you all right?" "Me? Why?" "You looked a bit upset." "I'm fine." I had shared everything with Sarah. In fact, she knew everything about me before we even started dating, including my educational background and job situation. Therefore, the bride's revelations had no effect on our bond. As the reception began, all guests gathered in the venue. Michael and the bride made their grand entrance to applause. However, the bride looked down at me with a triumphant smile as soon as our eyes met. I tried to ignore it, but throughout the various entertainments, the bride kept watching me closely. When it was time for the bride and groom speech, the bride eagerly grabbed the mic, pointed at me, and addressed the guests. "Why on earth is someone like you, with poor education and no skills, attending our wedding? Just sharing the same air with you makes me feel like I'm losing brain cells." The atmosphere in the venue froze at the bride's words. Among the guests were the bride's parents and friends, but there were more of Michael's contacts. Moreover, the majority were colleagues from work. It was highly inappropriate for the wife of a manager to make such statements in front of professional acquaintances. Michael looked horrified and tried desperately to stop her, but the bride continued unabated. "Does everyone know? Despite being incompetent and constantly dragging us down, he clings to his job, pretending nothing's wrong, just like a pest. Hey, stop it. Why should I? I'm just repeating what you told me. You even said you didn't want someone like him at our wedding. Why did you even invite him?" Well, that's, Michael seemed at a loss for words in the face of the bride's insults. My colleagues, Sarah, and I were all taken aback by the bride's audacity. Unabated, the bride's focus shifted from me to Sarah. "You really drew the short straw, didn't you? Too bad you can't turn back now. James, is she okay?" My wife nudged my arm and whispered. I just shrugged and shook my head as the bride continued unabated. Michael's face grew increasingly pale. This was far from the joyous expression one would expect from a groom on his wedding day. Although my colleagues and I were used to being bad-mouthed and looked down upon in the office, there was someone among us who couldn't contain his anger on our behalf. With a clatter, Mr. Thompson, who was sitting nearby, stood up. "Michael, who are you directing such insults at? What exactly is going on here?" Mr. Thompson, Michael, was barely hanging on after having incited the wrath of President Thompson. "How could you do such a thing to someone who's going to be the next president, Mr. Thompson? Those words were not mine, and your soon-to-be wife is saying all this. It can only be assumed you're the one who fed her such notions." "Well, that's unexpected." Mr. Thompson announced my upcoming role as the next president, leaving me and Sarah exchanging bewildered glances. She chuckled amusedly. "Indeed, my wife is the daughter of Mr. Thompson, making her the president's daughter. Mr. Thompson, of course, has known me since I joined the company and is aware of my educational background. He has always valued me purely based on my achievements and abilities." Michael stopped harassing me the moment he saw Sarah, because he quickly recognized she was the president's daughter. It meant that Michael wasn't foolish enough to overlook the significance of the president's daughter visiting the venue with me. Despite Michael's profuse apologies and his tuxedo, President Thompson's anger seemed to have reached its peak, and it appeared he wasn't willing to listen. Working while harboring such negative feelings towards others already marks you as incompetent. And on top of that, spreading slander makes you an unwanted person in our workforce. To everyone's astonishment, Michael was fired on the spot during his own wedding, adding insult to injury. The bride, through the mic, scornfully said to Michael, now jobless, "Am I marrying the unemployed guy? No way. Goodbye." Despite being the cause of the commotion, Michael's girlfriend dismissively sighed and left the venue, ignoring her own role in the uproar. The atmosphere left behind for us was undoubtedly the worst. The venue staff, unsure of how to proceed, let the wedding music play on, its notes echoing emptily through the hall. Since then, it seems Michael has been holed up at home. Understandably so, as he was not only fired, but also left by the bride during the wedding, leading to the collapse of his marriage. Feeling somewhat sorry for him, and recognizing his abilities, I plan to call him back once I've established myself as a competent president and gained recognition. To achieve this, I continue to work diligently, facing each day's challenges with earnest dedication.